forward to 2015, barely 12 years after that, and the entire landscape got changed. And I was part of the recruiting team by that time. By that time, I was a senior person, and we had a session from the very top people of the company that we no longer want traditional way. The entire new, recruitment system for freshers was invented, and we had roles. We had two roles called strikers and aces, and people with experience could not apply for these roles. Only freshers could apply for these roles, who were bright freshers who understood new technology, because the thought had changed. The thought was that people who have 20 years, 30 years are so invested in the old way of doing things. This morning we saw that agile changes almost everything we know about project management, right? So the general consensus among the people who are changing the business models, right, the largest companies of the world, is that people who have 30 years, 20 years in the industry are too invested in the old way of doing things, too invested in the old technologies. They cannot change the world, right, in the way we want. We want fresh blood. We want freshers to do all this. And a new word started doing the rounds in all big companies' recruitment strategies, that we don't want general roles. We don't want programmers or chip designers or something. We want to hire catalysts. So this word made its appearance sometime around 2013-14 in fresher recruitment paradigms. Okay, people started inventing new questionnaires. When we were getting trained how to conduct interviews, we were taught how to look out for catalysts, how to identify people who could act as potential catalysts, who would lead the company by the hand, and ease the transition from the old technologies and bring these new techniques and technologies into play. So we were not looking for programmers, we were looking for leaders of the next generation, who in the current recruitment drive, they were called as catalysts. Okay, and it's not just my old company, it was all the large companies were doing the same thing. So that's the change happened from 2003, when says we don't want to be the first mouse. People said we want to be the first mouse, and for us to tell us it's okay to be the first mouse, we want people with fresh thinking, and we are going to call them catalysts. So this session is about, all of us are faculty members, all of us have access to students. We know who is capable of doing what amongst our students, and many of them will be playing the role of catalyst. Okay, so this session is going to be, how do you identify them, how do you train them, how do you motivate them for changing the way the world does technology. All right, in other words, how do we become a catalyst, or how do we motivate our students to become catalysts in driving your organization towards this huge change that's happening. All right, so it's convention that you should start a session by telling you what the session is about. We are going to have entirely opposite. I'm going to tell you what this session is not going to be about. This session is not going to be about any technology. This session is not going to talk about components of IoT or components of Industry 4. And this session is not going to be about any industry practices or anything. This session is going to be about people. This session is going to be about mindsets. All right, so let's get started. And we have been using this word catalyst for a long time. So let's define. So there are two dictionary definitions of the word catalyst. The first is, in a chemical sense, chemical engineering sense, that any substance that enables a chemical reaction to proceed, which otherwise would have happened very slowly, but that substance significantly speeds up that reaction, right? A similar role is played by people in the second definition. A catalyst is a person that can be an agent of change, all right, that can provoke or speed up revolutions or bring about different ways of thinking and working. And that is the sense of catalyst we are going to be referring to in this session. All right. So agent that provokes or speeds up significant change or action. So this question comes to mind, right? We have seen in the previous sessions that IoT is not new. The first IoT device went online in 1981. The name IoT was coined in 1998. All right, it's not very new. So the benefits are already known. So you may have seen a lot of slides that, IoT will automate things, IoT will make your decision making faster, IoT will save you X number of dollars a year, etc., etc. Nobody needs to convince people that yes, this technology is good. or that we should do industry 4. Then the first question that should come to our minds is, if it is so obvious, if there is no doubt about it, if there is no gray area, then why the hell do we even need a catalyst? People should just be lining up for doing this, right? But that's not happening. So definitely there's a need for a catalyst despite all the benefits being known. And let's see some of the biggest reasons why this role is required. Okay, what stops people? What are the barriers for organizations, large and small both, to be able to do IoT? And why are we saying that our guys should become catalyst? The biggest one of the biggest, I think, challenge, there are many challenges. I have put up the biggest challenges here, and this is not, I have not invented this stuff. There are studies that are done every year in all different aspects. They look at financial aspects, they look at people aspects, they look at management strategy aspects, they look at a lot of aspects, that what is helping organizations and what is hurting organizations. The organizations like KPMG, like Forbes, like Accenture keep coming out with these reports, and we generally follow all of them. So all of them agree that these are the four barriers. Okay, first one is awareness and access to affordable technologies. Nobody has money to burn. New technologies typically have a very big price tag, especially technologies which require a very high level of experience in different spaces. As you have seen in the past 4 days, if when you do IoT, you're looking at embedded, you're looking at communications, you're looking at cloud, you're looking at 5G, you're looking at databases and data science. So a lot of expertise is involved. So typically such things tend to have a much higher price tag. And obviously not all organizations are able to afford that price. But even before the price, people need to be aware. Many times we have to spend almost a couple of hours with our new clients to convince them that yes, boss, this is possible and easy, even before before talking about money. So there's a gap in awareness of what is possible, and there's a gap in terms of what technologies can companies afford to buy. All right, that's the first challenge. The second challenge is, there's this misconception in the world that when we do industry 4, because we are calling it a revolution, and people think, oh my God, it's a revolution, everything will change overnight. That's not how it happens. Any big change is always incremental, all right? But we need to convince people, this is a barrier in people's minds, that if you're going to do industry 4, we have to do everything that industry 4 says, otherwise let's not do anything. Why take a big risk? So that is the other problem, that the cost and the scale of this change is apparently looks very big. For example, I have visited many large companies which are in the process of putting in their industry 4 transformation plans. The most recently I visited General Motors plant that manufactures cars near Pune, and they have a big 10-year plan with Honeywell to implement industry 4. So people think that so many millions of dollars and 10 years planned, it must be done all together. Okay, so that's the second barrier, that the cost and the scale of this change and the time that it encompasses looks too big to overcome by people. All right, at least not many companies can overcome it. The third barrier is there's a perceived impact on jobs, and it's a very good thing when we do workshops for student community. Almost every single session throws up at least one questions, that if you are automating all these things, then what's going to be their impact on jobs? So it's great that our students are already thinking about the social impact of these technologies. All right, so that's a perceived barrier. I'm not saying that's a showstopper. It's a perceived barrier. It's in our minds. And I think all of these are hard reasons, but I think the biggest thing, and I think Madhu touched upon it in the previous subject as well, the biggest barrier is a resistance to change. All right, because most of the times, and we see this so often, all right, most of the times, yes, we can automate, yes, we can do industry 4, yes, we can do IoT, we can optimize our processes, but what's the need? Companies running, profits are coming, people are happy, why should we change? So this is a typical mindset. People are usually averse to changing if everything else is working fine. Okay. So among all of this, resistance to change is the bottleneck that we have to overcome much often, because many times people can't see forward 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, what's going to be the cost of not taking that decision. So these are the four reasons why we do need catalysts to one by one go through these barriers and break them down and get everybody on board. That's why it's not an easy role to play. Okay. So that's why I've circled it. That's the biggest reason why we need a catalyst. All right. So I think let's address that first in a roundabout way. One of the greatest thinkers and knowledgeable people about Industry 4, Jeffrey Moore, right, advised organizations that no matter how secure you think you are, no matter you think everything is going fine, there is no need to change. If you do not change now, then you will not survive in the business. So this is a visionary who's saying you can't see it, but I know what's going to happen 5 years from now. Everywhere you see things are changing, more and more technology is coming in. So IT is no longer a department of a company. IT has become a survival component. If you don't have that skill, if you don't have the right people in that role, then the company will not survive. We are talking about companies creating internet strategies. 2 years from now, companies are going to start creating IoT strategies. It has already started happening. All right. So Jeffrey Moore rightly says that if we are too lethargic, if companies don't move fast enough, then they will be very quickly overcome by other companies who have seen the future. Right. So resistant to change, yes, but this is what's going to happen. Okay. That is why it's not just for catalyst. It's very necessary for companies to wake up and do see that this is the reality today. Right. In that, there are two different verticals, I would say. On the one hand, there are very large corporations. On the other hand, there are MSMEs. And if you recall our discussion on day one, in the Indian market at least, MSMEs constitute 99% of our economy, right? In other markets, they are 60% or 70%. India may they are 99% of our economy, all right? And these two classes of organizations look at technology change very differently. Okay, I'll tell you what those differences are. The biggest difference is that there are two major differences. Okay, one works in the benefit of the large corporations, the other works in the benefit of the MSMEs. Now, the first one is money. All right. Now, large corporations have lots and lots of money, and many times it becomes, they have every 5 years they have a technology revolution program. So, for example, they'll dedicate $5 million I'll spend in the next 5 years doing Industry 4. So they have budgets. They either use the budget or they lose the budget. So there is enough incentive for them to go to big players like Honeywell or Rockwell or Havels or General Motors or Infosys and get their revolution done. All right, that works in their favor. In on the other hand, if you look at MSMEs will never have enough money to burn. They will never say, "Oh, this year I've got 1 crore rupees to spend on technology, so I have to look what should I spend on." That doesn't happen with MSMEs. If an MSME decides to spend 5 lakhs on IoT, they are cutting that 5 lakhs from somewhere else. They'll not buy a machine or they'll not hire a new employee in that year because they're investing in this technology. So they will take a very hard look, a very close look, and are they getting their money's worth by not doing something else and spending money on this technology. For MSMEs, this is a survival thing, not a burning the budget thing, and it's definitely not a status thing. Sometimes on large organizations, what happens is if Ford says I have done Industry 4, General Motors has to follow, Toyota has to follow, otherwise their perception and reputation in the eyes of the stakeholders decreases. That is not the case with MSMEs. Every penny spent on technology has to reward them with a measurable benefit. All right. So this is the first difference between these two organizations in terms of how much money they have. Difference works more in the favor of MSMEs. Now that's speed of decision making. If you see a large organization, you have 15, 16, 17 lines of reporting from the most junior shop floor worker to the CEO. All right. Now that's why, 20 years ago, Jack Welch said, I don't want to have more than 8 levels of hierarchy. And then everybody follows. So HLBC also said, I will not have more than 7 levels of hierarchy. Everybody sticks to 7 or 8 levels now. But typically, the decision making starts at the fourth level, and at every level, a value has to be added, and it takes a very long time to reach a decision. That works against the big corporations because in a year, technology changes entirely. When Madhu was walking us through Agile, we saw that every few months the requirement might change. Now, I have been running this company for the last 3 years since 2018. I have revised my technology at least 3 times. That's how fast technology changes. And if a large organization is going to take 1 year or 2 years for taking a decision, the technology would have left them far behind. That works in the benefit of MSMEs, because in the MSMEs, typically there's only one level of decision making, or at the most two. There's supervisors and there are owners. So to be honest, all the conversations that I have ever had in the context of my company, we have always spoken to the top person, and it takes 1 or 2 meetings to take a decision and start implementing the technology. So this is second major difference, is the speed of decision making. MSMEs are much more agile, they are much better and much quicker at taking decisions, because the person who is getting affected the most is the person who takes the decision. All right. So that is a big difference between large corporations and small corporations. But having said that, when we are talking about catalysts, it doesn't much make a difference. The principles, the practices, the philosophies, the traits that we are looking for in a catalyst would be the same whether it's a small or a big company, just that the challenges they'll be addressing would be different. All right. Now we have seen, just a quick refresher, we have seen this chart about a missing middle, that in a foreign market, they have a they have 60-70% of the market which is a micro company. Then they have a very wide middle where innovation happens, where a lot of technology adoption takes place, and they have a very small tail. So this is, we have already seen this chart. I'll just summarize it very quickly. As opposed to that, in the Indian market, 99% of our companies are micros. There is a very little tail, very small tail of large players like Reliance or Tata, and there is hardly any middle. So why do we need catalyst in the large companies? Is to speed up the process of decision making and get the latest and greatest technology in. And why we need a catalyst in a smaller company here is so that we can encourage the micro players to jump into the middle, right? And the middle starts getting padded up. Because why is it important? It's the middle that companies are large enough and rich enough and invest enough in technology that we can start competing globally, and we become a global powerhouse in terms of industrial applications. Okay, we'll see some of this more. We'll continue with this theme in tomorrow's session also, that we look at how well we are doing in terms of emerging technology application. But do remember this chart, it's a very pertinent chart for our reasons. Okay, and as we said, 99% of our players, that's the huge opportunities in front of our catalyst, to be honest. Okay, so and what these guys are lacking primarily is access to affordable technologies. So we have been talking, we need a catalyst for various reasons. For large corporations, catalysts have to do a different job. For small corporations, catalysts are also required to overcome the initial resistance. So what are we looking for? So for example, let's say that among all your students, right, if you were to spot who can be a good catalyst, so that we can groom them, motivate them, and get them placed in the right opportunity. So let's look at some of the things that allow a person to be a catalyst. All right, and we are not going to talk about the academic record of this person. We are going to talk about a mindset of a person. All right, and this doesn't have to be a student. If you are a faculty member in your institute or university, you could be a catalyst to motivate your university and your organization or your department to start getting that change. Okay, and once the change starts happening, everybody wants to be a part of it. Okay, so you could yourself be a catalyst, right? So what are these traits that we are looking for when we say, yes, this person could be a good catalyst for change? There are a few different elements. I'll go through them one by one. The first set has to do with these three things. First and foremost, even before the technical challenge, the person must have conviction that yes, this is required. Yes, this will help my organization. And yes, we can achieve this. All right. Conviction, competence in emerging technologies, because we are all grooming engineers and technologists in our colleges, right? So it's very important that they should at least be aware. They should have basic competence in the technologies that we are looking at, and they should have confidence. A person who's afraid about surviving themselves in the company cannot bring about change. They are in survival mode. We want people with a growth mindset who are confident about their own standing, and then they can take the next step and convince other people. All right. So when we say technical competence, this is what conviction and competence. So our catalyst should be aware of what these technologies bring to the table, what they can do. Suppose they should be able to articulate the benefit. Okay, that's what comes from conviction, competence, and confidence. They should be able to stand up and talk three levels above them that yes, this is what will happen if we are able to implement this technology in such and such a time frame. So everybody knows all of this. The catalyst needs to be able to show them the real value in very real terms about this. All right. So this is the first set of traits we are looking for. What next? There's more. Uh, the first part was technical. The second part of how the catalyst engages with the organization. Most people, when they are freshers, are afraid of their own shadow. All right, they've given a piece of work, they'll sit and do it. They'll not talk to anybody else much, not try to find out what's happening in other parts of the organization. However, one person in 100 will have enough enthusiasm to reach out and say, "Hey, I'm a fresher. I want to learn what is happening in other part of the organization." And we do find such people, although they are rare. Okay, so you need that enthusiasm to come out of your shell and talk to the rest of the organization, right? You need exposure that I know how programming department works, or I know how the PCB design department works. What is marketing doing? What is sales doing? Right? So you need that kind of exposure to what other people are doing in the organization. Plus, very importantly, the catalyst might be the only person in visible range that needs to have idea of what the technology has to offer. All right, what are the tools available to me to make this change happen? What is the ecosystem of technologies? If I have to do industry 4, IoT is not enough. What else do I need? Okay, to make this shift happen and as painless as possible for the other people. When I do IoT, what are the other bits of technology that my team will need to invest? Because these are all the questions that will come to the way of the catalyst sometime or the other. People will throw challenges. How do you think this will engage with our existing data strategy? How do you think we have bought 10 servers? How do you migrate all of this to the cloud? All these questions will come. So when I say exposure, it is not just to what the organization is doing, it is also exposure to what the technologies have to offer. So you are able to answer the questions that will be thrown to you. All right. And lastly, there will be engagement, that you can't just sit in a silo. I'm a programmer, I'm going to do just programming. You need to engage with the wider organization. The organization is very much like a jigsaw. There are different departments with different interfaces. So yes, the catalyst day job may be programming, but apart from that, whenever they get free time, whenever there are organizational events, a few people will go beyond their designated spot, walk across the floor and talk to somebody in marketing or talk to somebody in training and stuff like this. All right, and that's what we look for. The catalyst has to be able to walk across different parts of the organization and talk to everybody with an equal amount of ease, right? And the third set of traits we are looking for is communication abilities. Now, catalyst has to be a very persuasive person. They need to be able to put across their way of thinking and convince the people in front of them that yes, pay attention to what I'm saying. This could be useful for you, right? They need to be people oriented because, as I said, technology will come and go. People and their relationships and their behaviors are not going to change. So we need a catalyst to be good at working with people. Okay. So many times our bosses used to tell us that you can always find people to solve technology problems, but you will never find technology to solve people problems. Okay. So people come first. All right. And lastly, they need to be oriented to results. It's very easy to say, yes, I have studied this. Yes, I have read this article. Yes, I have done this analysis. But what next? What is the benefit of spending 12 hours of an analysis if I can't show any result? So Catalyst needs to be able to produce results and show that result to their peer group. All right. And best of all, the most important trait I'm looking for is that the technologist, even though they may be fresher or they may be 2 years old in the organization, they need to have the confidence to punch above their weight. If they get an opportunity of sharing the elevator with the CEO, they need to have enough confidence that say, I attended your webinar or seminar, I have some ideas, can we talk? All right. This doesn't come easily. That's why I said this is not a very easy role to play, but we still find people. But if we know what to look for, I'm sure each of you would be thinking of some student under your guidance right now that yes, this person might be able to, we can maybe motivate them to grow these skills and do it, right? If we know what to look for, we can help those people grow and help them achieve more in their lives. All right. So these are some of the traits we are looking for if we are to consider a person as a catalyst for the organization. Okay. Now, this is inside of the person, but success doesn't come just because you are good in these 10 things, correct? For success, you are going to depend on your surroundings, your peer teams, the people who work with you on a day-to-day or an hour-to-hour basis. Okay. So let's see what kind of people our catalyst is going to work with every day of their career. All right. So primarily there are three different roles that a catalyst will work with. First is the role of their peer group. These are people very much like our catalyst. Very often you will find them in junior roles. They are very dedicated to their roles. They are very hardworking. Individually, they maybe cannot achieve too much, but as a group, they are the workforce of the organization. This is the bunch that produces results. This is the bunch that delivers the goods. All right. So this is the first peer group, first kind of roles that your catalyst is going to engage with. All right. Then there will be a layer of management, maybe one layer or three layers. Now, this is the group of supervisors, this is a group of managers who are keeping the company running, right? Who know the rules, who know the laws, who know the regulations, who know what clients need, and who know the processes through which people will deliver this. Okay, these are our bosses, these are our team leaders, these are our managers. Now, just like in the first group, you will find people who are very enthusiastic, very hardworking. Collectively they have a lot of influence. Okay, the managerial group has a lot of access individually also. Department managers talk to each other, they understand each other's pains, they understand what is stopping the organization from growing. All right. Many times we say that the management role is very difficult because that has pressures from both the sides. It has pressures from the leadership team and it has pressures from the working group, and they have to deliver on both ends. So they're very conflicting requirement at times. Okay. The third group our catalyst will work with is the leadership, right? And there's a big difference between the role of the leadership and role of the management. We have had these management workshops every year when I was working with HSBC. Every time we used to open these sessions with this one statement that the role of management is to maintain the status quo, continue following the rules, continue keeping the ship sailing in a smooth way. And the role of leadership is absolutely the opposite. They have to challenge the status quo. They have to force the organization to change every day, every minute. They have to keep their so the leadership is a very disruptive area. They always want to do the new things, and management is a very serene area where they want to continue doing the same things effectively. All right. In other words, leadership tells you, what is the right thing to build, and management is the place where we say build the thing right. Okay. So leadership always shows the direction. That's why I've built a compass out there. So these are the three kinds of roles our catalyst is going to interact with. And there are certain challenges in each of these three places, and there are certain opportunities in each of these three places. Each of these groups has something that will help our catalyst do the job that we are expecting of them. Okay, let's take a look at each of these groups in isolation now. Let's look at the first peer group. I'm calling it a fresher group, but that doesn't mean that they are fresh out of college. They may be anywhere up to 2 to 3 years of experience. Okay, these are people who are very similar to our catalyst in terms of experience, in terms of skills, in terms of how much influence they have in the company. Right? What are the strengths of this group? They have a lot of enthusiasm. Okay, they're just fresh, full of new ideas, and just raring to go. They want to accomplish something in life. All right. They have no baggage. You will recall my first slide of this session. People who have 20 or 30 years invested in the field have a lot of baggage. They are invested in the old ways. They are invested in the old technology. So they're carrying a lot of bags. It's difficult for them to run very fast. These guys have no baggage. They don't know anything. They're clueless, but they are full of enthusiasm and they're full of an eagerness to learn new things. Okay, since they are not carrying a lot of load, they're capable of picking up new things very fast. All right, so no baggage. And lastly, obviously, if they've been selected to do their jobs, they are competent in their jobs and they are competent in the new technologies, which people who have been doing an old technology for a long time, they find it more difficult. They find the learning curve harder to overcome. but these guys are very, very competent. So technically they are competent, baggage wise they have no baggage, and they have a lot of eagerness to do and learn new things, right? This is what this group is good at. What are the challenges this group has, or what are they not good at? Many times they don't see the big picture. Many times we'll say, hey, why do we do it this way? Why let's bring in a new machine, let's do it. A more experienced person might know that this same process has been working very well, has been adapted and tailor made, fine tuned for a particular customer. If you bring in a new thing, all that goes out of the window. Okay. And how keeping it that process stable helps the company in the long run. All this big picture your fresher group, your peer group is not going to have. All right, they'll have new ideas, but half of engineering is making new ideas work well with old ideas. So this group lacks that big picture. The second thing this group lacks is reach and influence within the organization. People don't listen to them. They might have the best of ideas, but people won't listen to them. All right, this is where large good organizations differentiate from large average organizations. That good organizations are on the lookout for such people who have really great ideas that can't be implemented now, but maybe 2 years from now it can be implemented. So they actively look for such people and train them for catalyst roles. All right. And the last one is most of these people are not catalysts. They have a fixed mindset. They have a survivor mindset. All right. That let me finish the job I have given first, and then let's worry about other things. Okay. So the mindset is status quoist. 1 out of 100 of these people have the catalyst mindset. All other 99 are going to lack that mindset. So in what way can this peer group help our catalyst do their role as a catalyst? There's one very big thing they can do. This is the group that can get things done. They are aware of the technology, they are enthusiastic, they have no baggage. Technically, this is the group which will get the job done. Alone, your catalyst cannot do all the hard work. You need a peer group who trusts you, who respects you, and which will build a community, a committed team through which you can get the job done. And there are dozens of examples here, right? We have been part of it. Some of my colleagues have been part of it. Madhu has been part of it. I have been part of it. You have a good idea, people don't listen to you. I'll give you an example. So way back when I was a fresher, less than 1 year old, we wanted to automate some routine job that took 3 or 4 hours to do, and we wanted to create a one-click solution that will do it in 5 minutes. And none of our seniors listened to us. So I, with three of our friends, said, let's sit tonight. We have enthusiasm. We don't mind working late nights. We know technology and we are not invested in the old way. So 3 or 4 of us sat as a community for one night. In the morning, we produced a prototype and we showed the result. And that's when seniors accepted that solution. So you can't do all this alone. You need a committed team to do all this that thinks like you. And that's what this group is going to do for you. They will establish credibility, and you can build a community of people who will work alongside you to bring about change. Nobody will let you do, you can, this has happened so many times. People take proposals. Can we do this? No. Can we do this tomorrow? No. Can we do this next week? No. Just imagine the change. Boss, I have done it last week. Can you look at it and see if it works? Then the answer will be yes, because somebody has already done the work. All right. So peer group. This is what the peer group does for the catalyst. Now I'm going to skip over the management level, which is many times the trickiest level to work through. And I'm going to jump over to the leadership level first. Okay, because in many ways, the leadership level is not very different in terms of enthusiasm compared to the peer group. All right, let's see what are the different strengths that your catalyst will can tap on into the leadership team, people who are running the highest levels of this organization. The biggest strength is vision. All right, now any change that anybody brings into the organization has the greatest impact on the leadership teams. Their careers depend on it, their lives depend on it, their fortunes depend on it. All right, and they have ultimate authority. Okay, so that is why they have to have a good vision of where they want to take an organization. They're always up to listen to, and we have had this experience so many times. I'm sure you would also have had this experience, that this is the group that is most welcoming of new ideas and to hear out what those ideas are. Maybe 1 out of 100 ideas works, but they will always listen to you. All right, so they have this vision. The next big strength they have is they own it. They have the ultimate stake, and they are not afraid to exercise that. All right. The third thing, since they are at the top of the food chain, they have ultimate authority. If they want something done, they can get it done. So if one of the leadership team has invested into your idea, be assured you'll get all the support that you need from any department of the organization. All right. And fourth, and in many ways, this is the greatest asset that you have in this group. They are open to risks. Okay, that's how they've got where they are. They don't want to stick to the status quo. They want to challenge the status quo. They want the organization to go in new directions, even if it means a risk. This is called a growth mindset. They don't have survivor mindset that let's just do. Otherwise, somebody can come and they will check with me whether you have completed your work or not. That is survivor mindset. Growth mindset is let's push the envelope. Let's see what happens. Let's see if our company can achieve this. I'm happy to take the risk. So your biggest asset in the leadership group is them being open to risk and new ideas. All right. Now there are certain challenges, of course. The challenges are no matter how much some leadership might want to change the organization, but they have the baggage of what already exists. I took an example of some of our clients who have machines running in their factories for 15 years. They're doing a good job. Each of those machines might cost a few crores of rupees. Now, even if the management, the leadership wants to invest in new automated IoT based machines, they can't just throw away existing infrastructure. Okay, so that's a legacy infrastructure that companies want to stick to. A very relevant example of this in the context of IoT is this migration to the cloud. Now, any new company, 99.9% of any new company is not going to buy a single server. They are going to have all their infrastructure on the cloud. But what about the companies that have existed for the last 30 years? They have huge data centers. What do they do with them? Nobody's going to buy these old computers from them. Those computers already cost them millions of dollars. So they're stuck with the legacy infrastructure. Okay, that's challenge number one. Challenge number two is time constraints. As I said, they're happy to listen to the ideas provided you can catch hold of them. So many times when we want to play the role of a catalyst, we look for the opportunities, we figure out that which lift does the leadership guy take, and we make sure we time ourselves and we enter the same lift and we get those 30 seconds of time in the elevator to pitch an idea. And that is why these things are called elevator pitches. Okay, you're in an elevator for 30 seconds with the guy who has authority, and in 30 seconds you want to at least make an impression that yes, please hear more from me. So elevator pitches, that's why they are called elevator pitches. You just get 30 seconds in an elevator with somebody. All right. So time constraints are there. I think the third one is one of the biggest concerns that leadership is very good at thinking about new things to do, but they have to justify the rewards. As I said, if you're talking to the owner of an MSME, if maybe they are spending, and many of our clients are like, their monthly bills are like 1 crore or 1.5 crore towards salaries and machines and electricity and all. Even if we pitch an idea that is just 5 lakh rupees, it's a very small percentage of 1 crore. At the same time, they will see this 5 lakh rupees, could I use it somewhere else? Or is this the best use of these 5 lakh? They have so many ideas they want to try. They are going to evaluate each of these ideas on the ROI, which is return on investment. If I put 5 lakhs in industry 4 or in IoT, what will it do? What return will it give to my organizations over 3 years? And that's what they will decide, should I go for it or not? Okay, so ROI is going to be one of the biggest things. And we have these discussions every week. People ask us to our face, tell me the ROI. I will only go forward with your discussion if you can create a chart and show me the ROI of this idea. Otherwise, take your time. All right. And the last challenge in this layer becomes past experience. As I said before, this group likes to take risks, and by their very nature, not all risks work out positively. Some of them have consequences also. So this group has a lot of experience of, in the past we tried this, it didn't work. So what are you going to do differently? The question they will ask you is, we tried it 10 years ago, it didn't work. Not because they want you to say, okay, don't try it. They want you to say, all right, this time I'm going to do it this differently, this way. This is the question you'll get. What will you do differently so that it will be successful this time? Okay, so past experiences. So these are the strengths and challenges in the leadership tier. And how can the catalyst tap into this? What do you want out of this layer? You just want one thing from this layer, that is trust. If you have the trust, if your idea has the trust of the leadership layer, then everything else is available to you. They don't need to invest time, they don't need to invest even too much money in you. The first and foremost thing they need to invest in you and your idea is their trust. All right, once you have trust, other things will follow. You might be able to get funding, you will have access to the department, right? For example, you can say I need to go and sit with the finance department to understand how this thing can be funded, and just one email and you will have that access. And one of the other big things you can get it, you will get industry connects. Okay, now the owner of these organizations might meet once a week to owners of its peer organizations. They might have drinks in the evening with their peer group, they might go to play golf with them, they might just have be on a business call with them. And it just takes one email from the top guy to say, one of my bright youngsters is going to come, please tell them how you are implementing this new process. That's all it takes to get you access. All right, so this is the layer where you're looking for trust, and the other things like funding, access, and access to other industry connects will follow. Right, now let's come to the sticky layer, the layer of management. I think to a large extent, management is very maligned unnecessarily. People don't see the fact that management is a very crucial place, right? I read a quote somewhere very well that management is in the middle, right? And everything breaks in the middle. If you pick up a stick, your stick is not going to break at the end. The middle is where it's going to break. And management is always on its toes. Okay, it has lots of different kinds of challenges and lots of different kind of responsibilities, right? What are the strengths from this layer that we can tap into? The biggest strength is that this layer is the place, even more than the leadership, that knows the organization inside and out. They know all the pains, they know all the processes, they know what works, they know what doesn't work, they know which person in what department is not going to answer your questions, and they know who to go to when you want answers and solutions. So this is the glue. In terms of architecture, we said protocol is the glue. In terms of organizations, the management layer is the glue that holds everything else together. All right. A good case study was done by Google, I think 5 or 6 years ago, where they thought, why do we need managers? And we had this talk from somebody very high, very senior in the Google organization, and they said we had a very long discussion over a couple of weeks that what do managers do, and then they concluded that they don't really need managers. Engineers are able to take care of everything, so they demised that role, and the managers were assigned technical work. And within a year, everything fell apart. No projects would get delivered on time, things would go over budget, all these things would happen. And then they met again, and what they came to conclusion is we really don't know what managers do, but they must be doing something useful. So let's bring them back, right? And this is coming from the top leadership of Google. So yeah, they know the organization, they have influence, people listen to them. Okay, they know other departments, they know what works, they know who can help you. All right, and they have a lot of technical experience in what you're trying to do. Even more than leadership, the management is the right place to tell you, hey, you're doing it this way, that's not gonna work. Try it doing a little other way. Use this. I will tell you what we did earlier, which worked, and they have a lot of experience in that sort of thing. All right. So these are the strengths of the management layer. Now let's look at what all challenges our catalyst faces when working through this layer. Um, Firstly, management layer is not a risk-taking layer. Maybe the people personality-wise may be adventurous, but the role doesn't let them be risk takers. Leadership can take risk. Leadership's job is to challenge the status quo. The manager's job is to keep the ship sailing. They cannot take unnecessary risks. They generally have a survival mindset to keep the things running. Don't rock the boat. Things are fine. Don't change how things are working. Okay. So when you talk to American companies, there's a very standard phrase everybody uses: "Don't fix it if it's not broken." All right. So that's the kind of approach that management layer generally has. There are exceptions, and the exceptions either get um a goodbye letter from the company, or they rise to the top of the company in the leadership ways. Okay. There's a fear of accountability as well, because as I said, things break in the middle. Whether or not the manager is at fault doesn't matter. Ultimate accountability becomes of the manager. So whether the mistake happened in decision making at the top or execution level at the bottom, the accountability comes to the manager. So jawabdari, as we call it, right? The manager is asked to be accountable for these things. So generally, that's why they like to stick to things that are safe, right? And finally, they are massively overburdened people. Everything from the top comes and rests on their desks. All problems from the bottom come and rest on their desk, and they have to do their job, and they have to make sure laws are followed, and they have to make sure all the audits are passed, and they have to make sure people are happy and not leaving their jobs. All of it rests on the management desk. So let's cut them some slack. It's very natural that they are not a naturally risk-taking area of the company. All right. So these are the challenges. What do you want as a catalyst out of the management layer? You want their support. They need to buy in. And trust me, in many ways, this is as important as getting support, the trust of the leadership. From leadership, you want their trust, and then they'll move on. From management, you want continuous support. They cannot just say, yes, I trust you, and then move on. They have to be with you. They have to advocate for idea. Suppose I say I want to bring in industry 4. It is the management which has access to the leadership, and management will meet with the leadership every week and say, I have a bright youngster in my team. He's come up with some very good ideas. Can you give us half an hour to listen to them? So that is the kind of advocacy and access you can get from the management layer. And obviously they have a lot of experience, because they can tell you, don't even pitch this idea, it's not gonna work. I will tell you how to go about it. To be honest, I'll give you a real example from my own second or third year of the job. We were trying to do something, we were trying to pitch an idea to top leadership, and my immediate manager, my project manager, is a person named Guru. We still call him Guru. And he came with me. He said, I have set up a meeting for 15 minutes with our department vice president. Come, you just have 15 minutes, okay? Make sure you finish the pitch in 15 minutes. We went with Guru to the manager, and we pitched our ideas. And he says, idea to bada, you have a very good idea, but let's do it sometime later. Okay? I like the idea, he says. And that is where the experience and buffer value of a manager comes in. I wanted to fight it out. I wanted to say, no, 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 listen to me, give me more 15 minutes. And Guru said, Abhijit, बहुत मत खींचो, टूट जाएगा. We'll come back next week and work some more on this. All right. So that is the value that a management can give you that leadership will never give you. Okay. And all these are true stories that I'm telling you. Eventually, we were able to implement the idea. But that's what, as a fresher, I had lacked the experience which the manager had, and that helped us. Okay. So this is about management. What specific contributions then can we have seen what kind of traits we are looking for in a catalyst. We have seen what kind of layers of people a catalyst will work through, and we have also seen what we can expect to get from each of these layers. Now, assuming you have all of this, you have the support, you have your peer group, you have the trust of the leadership and all. What contribution can a catalyst make? When you know as a catalyst, you are convinced that this is the right thing. How can you go about it? Okay. So we'll first look at what all is this you can do. And towards the last 5 minutes, I will tell you a real case study. Somebody who worked with us as an intern from the college, who joined the company, and he had all the traits of a catalyst, and he was able to bring about a change in the organization. I will give you this real story, but before that, I will tell you what specific contributions a catalyst can make. Very first initial stage, when the idea is just forming, when you have started pitching the idea to the organization, we as a catalyst need to understand the organization and its challenges. One size does not fit all, no matter how good the idea. Voice is echoing a bit. Can you open the door? No matter how good the idea, it might not fit our organizations. So as a catalyst, we first need to understand our organizations, its unique challenges, right? For example, right, any idea that is just being implemented for the sake of technology will never be accepted. Our idea needs to solve a real problem, and then only it will be accepted. So it's a very standard saying, in technology startups, which just want to build products for the sake of technology. People don't buy drills, people buy holes. All right, drill is just the means. So whenever we want to bring about a change, you have to pitch it in the context of an existing problem. Nobody will buy the drill just for the sake of buying a drill. All right. That's initial stage. Understand the organization, understand the problems, and then you are in a position to find solutions. Otherwise, it's just technology, it's not a solution. We find industry 4 solutions by evaluating. As I said, there are a number of different things you have to consider. What kind of business am I in? Am I in manufacturing? Am I in healthcare? Am I in servicing? And what kind of technology solves our problems? And this is where the connect with experts. When students come to my workshops, I tell them this workshop doesn't end after 3 days. Remain connected with us. There will come a day when you want to pitch an idea to your organization, and they will say who's going to implement it, and then you come to us and ask us how do I pitch this idea again. All right, so that's where your catalyst needs to have some experts in their back pocket to evaluate technology for them. And if you just take a problem to your organization, people say yes, we know this is a problem, thank you very much. If you take a solution to the organization that I know this is a problem, I'm giving you a ready-made solution, at least try it out. Nobody will say no to a ready-made solution. At least people will pilot it for you. All right, this is about finding solutions. Once solutions are found, there are people who can do it for you. You have to start small. As I said, one of the bigger challenges is all or nothing. I will either do all of industry 4 or I'll not do it at all. That doesn't work. The catalyst has to demonstrate that you can take small pieces of it, chew it in small pieces, right? So you build trust. Even now, even when I'm no longer a fresher, when we go to our clients, one of our biggest clients says they have 4 factories with 150 machines. They say, boss, show it to me on 2 machines first. Let's start small. I will give you money. Show it to me on 2 machines, then we'll do it on 50 machines. If everything is still working fine, I will give you all 150 of my machines. Okay. So build trust. If trust is there, other things will follow. Okay. um, and industry 4 and IoT, you have seen we have been speaking about building blocks and protocol as Fevicol and keeping on changing the technology. Fortunately, this technology lends itself very well to keeping on changing and keep adding more and more things in small chunks. There is agile that helps us do things in small manageable pieces. So technology is there, practices are also there. All we have to do is, rather than pitching a very big idea, pitch idea in small morsels, over time adding up to the bigger strategy. All right, so start small. What then? Once you started small, you have the manager support, you involve other stakeholders. Okay, so your solution industry 4 is not something that you just do in the engineering department, or just do in the finance department, or just do in the sales department. Industry 4 like changes involve the entire organization. All right, so you can't just say my manager is happy with it, so you have to damn well accept this change and implement it. That doesn't work. Everybody needs to buy into this technology, right? I'll take examples from HSBC. HSBC is a very conservative organization. For the last so many years, we kept, sticking to established players like IBMs and Oracles and Sun and other things. Okay, so then when we decided that let's do open source, all the tools we have been seeing in this workshop are open source. When we said let's do open source, it was a big problem because the leadership had accepted, but there were 70 country heads that were not willing. So you can't just take a hammer and say, I don't care what you think, this is a good idea, please execute it. You have to take people into confidence, and that is where an entire team was set up to go to all these places. I was also part of the team, show people the benefit, understand their concerns, try and fix their concerns, and then people will trust you and come on board with the idea, right? So you have to involve the stakeholders. Okay, many people will have really good ideas that yes, your solution will solve this problem, but it will create these 4 new problems. What do you do about them? So these things come to you only when you involve the stakeholders into a conversation, and a catalyst job is to do just that. All right, so look at it this way. There are some very influential stakeholders in the organization. If they buy into your idea, if they think this idea will help their organization, they will support you. If they don't buy into your idea, they'll do everything in their power to make sure it doesn't happen. All right, this is very common. So involve the stakeholders, make it everybody's stake. All right, then create a business case. So far we are all technology, we are creating the pillars, we are creating a use case that yes, I have tested it. Now comes the question of should an organization really pay for it? All right, that's when the question of a use case, a business case comes in. A business case looks like this. This is what we are doing now. This is what we propose to do. This is why we propose to do so. And this is the tangible benefit. Either it will save you money, or it will make you money, or it will make you a more reputed player. So big organizations like Google and Apple and Microsoft, many times they do things not because they are earning money, but because they are growing in reputation. All right. So you have to quantify those benefits, and the benefits have to make sense to every level of the organization. Okay. And lastly, there will come a time, not for all ideas, but for some good ideas, where you will get the blessing. Yes, you have a great idea, you have a vision, you have all the players ready, you have the experts, you have the business case, go do it for me. All right. At that time, you will be like, oh, I don't know how to do. I'm just here to tell you the idea. That doesn't work. Okay, so you have to take ownership, be the interface. You have done all the groundwork, you have all the knowledgeable people in your back pocket. When somebody says, okay, agreed, done, now what? How should we do it? That's when you should jump into action, take ownership and say, I will arrange the meeting with the experts, and then you will see all of it will work out fine. All right. So that's where we can contribute. It's not something that happens in a week. At times it takes years to do. All right. But that's why I say catalysts are not ordinary people. Catalysts are willing to wait, willing to invest a couple of years. If they are very invested in ideas, they will invest a few years to make it work. And when I say catalysts, don't just think students. We can all be catalysts in our own way as well. All right. So let's take a breath. A lot of ground has been covered. Our poor catalyst is now a Superman, and what all they need to do. Okay, this is the portrait of a catalyst. All these traits a catalyst should have. All these layers a catalyst will go through, and all of them will bless the catalyst with some of their assets. All right, and finally, they have to do their jobs. They have not been hired to just be a catalyst. They have been given their own goals. Catalyst is just a side business at after work ends. Correct? So it's not possible for a catalyst to do all of this alone. You are going to need help. All right? Help will come in what forms? There's a very nice article written by a very visionary author called Malcolm Gladwell. This book is about tipping point, about how to make change happen. How to, when we say that an image has gone viral or a trend has gone viral, there's a tipping point. Initially, there are just one or two people subscribing to it. Then there'll be 100 people subscribe to it. And all of a sudden, the thing will tip and thousands of people will like that idea. So that tip is called a tipping point. And how do you bring about a tipping point? It doesn't happen accidentally. There are certain kinds of people that help you get there. So these are as I said, you will need help, and there will be three kinds of people who will help you in this journey. The first are called connectors. Okay, connectors, mavens, and the name is salesman. That doesn't mean these are doing sales jobs. The title of this role is salesman. The first kind of people who will help you are called connectors. Now, connectors are very good at people skills. If you go to a connector and say, hey, I'm looking for a intellectual property lawyer, who should I go? The connector will pick up their phone. Wait, I have three of them stored here. Tuck, 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 tuck. Talk to this guy. He helped me last year. That's kind of connector. You go to the connector next week and say, I'm struggling, right? I'm not able to find the right content. Wait, you say, I have a digital marketer in my notebook. Yeah, take this thing. So connectors are people anchors. They will connect you with the right skills at the right time. All right. They know the ecosystem, they know the suppliers, they know who has used it and who can tell you this works, this doesn't work, and they will connect you with all kinds of people you want. So connectors. The second group of people who will help you are called mavens. Mavens means these are geeks. They are not people oriented people. They work in a silo. They are very sharp. They like to be the first people to try out a new technology. They don't talk to other people much. But when you're looking to see, hey, I'm doing industry 4, should I use MQTT or should I use COAP? You need somebody like a maven who will tell you what works and what doesn't work. All right. So Maven will not talk to you. You have to go to the Maven and say, can you please help me with this? I can share a live example. When I was in New York for a while, and there was this colleague of mine called Vladimir Baba Zanov. We used to call him Vlad Baba. his name was very difficult to pronounce. He was Russian, and he was the expert on the system. And he wouldn't talk to anybody. He would have lunch in a corner. He would not say good morning, good night to anybody, and we had to learn a process from him. He wouldn't tell us. Okay, so he was a maven. He understood, but he will not offer you information. You have to go and figure out a way to get it from him. Okay, so these are mavens. They love technology. They don't love people, but they are the people who will tell you what is the right technology to use, right? Um, the third kind of people is, the name is salesman. Let's call it an influencer. Okay, these are advocates. They will the people who might not understand your idea or your technology very well, but they are very good at convincing other people. So these are the people who should be your advocates. They are your salesmen. They will come to you. Just like I said, my manager Guru came with me. So these are the people. He was a salesman in this respect who will sell your idea for you. Okay, so and who is going to connect you to the right maven and the right salesman? It will be a connector. So you need a connector in your back pocket, you need a maven in your back pocket, and you need a salesman in your back pocket, and then you have suddenly a really good team and you can make magic happen with this. Okay, and these are not just paper concept, these are not just, blind philosophies. When we were setting up a company, we created an Excel sheet. We put names in each of these buckets. Who are the connectors who will help us grow the company? Who are the mavens who will teach us technology? Who are the influencers who will take us to their possible clients and sell this technology for them? So this is very real, and it did help us a lot. Okay. Um, right. So these are the kind of people who will help our catalyst do the job of a catalyst well. Okay. Yeah, so that's the salesperson and their job. So I think we are just coming to the end of our session, but here is where the real value of this session comes in. So why are we doing this session here? Correct. As I said, obviously, each of you could be a catalyst in your own right. Each of you could push your organizations, your universities, your research centers, and make magic happen and get the whole world an inch closer to doing industry 4. All right, but more importantly, our goal to include this 90-minute presentation is through you. We want to reach your students. All right, as I said, typically organizations are looking for catalysts is a fresher role, right? Let me put up that visual for you. This is why I'll tell you why I'm mentioning this, because this is general split of the people who have been training over the last 3 years on IoT specifically, but also on the other industry 4 technologies. Among 4,000 students and 600 faculty members, the really great part is more than half of them are from the ENTC stream. So you should all feel proud of yourselves. All right. But look at the other end of the scale. We have 7% mechanical, 1% aero engineering, 1% civil. So there's hardly any representation. And where are we going to need catalysts? Definitely we'll need catalysts in the circuit streams as well, but the demand is going to be generated from the consuming streams. So more and more catalysts are required in that 7% and 1% kind of things. And see, we can do these sessions all day long. We'll just get 1.5 hours or 2 hours of students, but it is this group we are talking to who get 4 whole years with these students. So you can literally make their careers. Okay. And we could give all this gyan to students also, but they just don't have the maturity and the exposure to understand. You do, you are the gurus. So our request is going to be, you as the faculty are all the 3 roles for us. You are the connectors, you are the early adapters or the mavens, and you are also the advocates. And you have this jadoo ki chhadi in your hands, right? Where you will, each of you. So yesterday, Dr. Patil sir said that we have reached a big milestone with the ATAL program, that we have now trained 1 lakh faculty. Okay. In the last 3 years of training IoT, we have been able to reach 4,000 students. Just imagine if 1 lakh faculty picks out one student from your roofs, right, and decides to groom them as catalysts. In 6 months, you will have 1 lakh catalysts prepared. That is the power of this group here we have today. And that is why this session we have put as one of the last sessions in FDP. There will be one more session, but this is the session through which we want to leverage your presence and your strengths to find, groom, motivate and deploy catalysts who will make industry 4 the wave of the future, right? With that, I will end this session and I am happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Abhijit. Thank you very much, Abhijit. So I invite questions from the participants.
Thank you, Abhijit sir. As you are explaining about the connector and the advocates very nicely and with a good example also. Never I got this opportunity to receive this type of way of speech is very nice, and giving the examples and the slide with that I can appreciate very nice, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thanks. I can salute you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir, for the kind words. But I think the examples where the real power lies, right? And one of the reasons why AICT and AIT is very instrumental in doing these sessions is to bring these examples and these philosophies and bridge the gap between industry and the universities. And I'm very happy that we have, so many wise faculty members here. I'm sure you will take this philosophy forward and help us grow this community of Catalyst and Industry 4 enthusiasts. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your sharing the knowledge and power. Thank you, sir.
Any more questions? I have just shared the feedback and attendance link on the WhatsApp group, and it is also available on your emails. So please check. Yesterday I have circulated the final list of participants as an Excel sheet. So there are if this I mean, your name does not appear in that list, please revert back to me, because I am going to finalize this list today and upload it on the AICT website.
Okay, sir.
I am again sharing the Excel sheet to you once more today. So you please go through it and revert back. So thank you very much. Tomorrow we will meet at 10 o'clock with the first session by Mr. Advait Upadev, who is from TCS. We'll be talking on IoT applications and cloud computing. And then we'll have a second session by Abhijit, and the followed immediately by the valedictory session. So tomorrow we'll end our FDP around 2 o'clock or before 2 o'clock.
Abhijit sir,
Yes.
your number is 77980 or 32613, sir.
Yeah, that's my mobile number 779803261 3. This is my phone as well as my WhatsApp number.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. So we'll meet again tomorrow.